Readers, the other day you did some interesting work with analyzing power, both empowering and disempowering, of gender norms. What was interesting in your novels was how differently these gendered pressures showed themselves. Like in the crossover, the narrator feels a lot of pressure from his dad and his brother to be a super competitive basketball player. It seems like being the kind of man his dad and brother approve of is wrapped up in being a ball player. Whereas in Piecing Me Together, the narrator is trying to figure out how to be a strong young woman, and a lot of that revolves around studying modern professional women of color like herself. Today, I want to teach you that sometimes when you are wondering why characters act the way they do or feel the way they do, it can be illuminating to analyze the pressures that are exerted on them. When pressures coincide and are doubled or conflict with each other, they can shape our behavior in dramatic ways. There was a famous researcher and professor named Pedro Noguera. He looks especially at the power of pressures that are exerted on kids from family, school, and peers. And he says that when these pressures coincide, they double their force, which can be overwhelming. But when these pressures conflict, when they demand different things from a kid, it can be deeply, powerfully stressful for kids to manage. Another researcher, Patricia Hill Collins, also suggests that when forces such as racism, classism, or sexism intersect, people face problems that compound each other. The way in which those forces, those forms of discrimination, overlap, combine, or intersect is known as intersectionality. Readers, if you extend this thinking into your books, it will help you to explore not only the range and kind of pressures that characters experience, but also how the power of these pressures might influence some of their behaviors and decisions. You might find yourself asking new questions and going back to the text in new ways. Let's try this out by going back to the moment in The Hate You Give when Star walks into Williamson. As you reread, will you ask yourself, what kinds of pressure are on Star, and how do these pressures shape her behavior? Go back to the lesson platform and watch the video starting at 5 minutes and 50 seconds when Star enters Williamson to 7 minutes when she says, I hate myself doing it. We are seeing a lot of pressures on Star here, and seeing how these pressures shape her behaviors. For example, when Star walks into Williamson's school in Garden Heights, she says she immediately transforms into Star version 2. We see her shed her hoodie and smile at her peers, even though their comments and behaviors are deeply troublesome to her. We also see how Star doesn't share her feelings. She pushes them down and swallows them. So there's a physical and psychological change in Star at school, where before entering, she has to check her true self at the door like luggage. Star version 2, the Williamson Star, feels that if she expresses her true self to her white classmates, they would reject her. So she changes her language and behaviors. And then she says, and I hate myself for it. What a heart wrenching moment. Readers, it isn't just Star who experiences multiple pressures. Try this out. Think about any moment when a character in your novel experiences multiple pressures. Sketch quietly for a moment in your reading notebook. Think about pressure from family, from school, from friends, from other groups, from power systems like racism or sexism. Pause the video while you do this. Now consider how the power of these pressures might affect this character. Go ahead and pause the video and jot in your reading notebook. What thinking is this leading you to? Readers, this kind of thinking about the power of coinciding and conflicting pressures is illuminating in Reading Workshop and also in your lives. Sometimes sketching or even imagining pressure maps helps you make sense of why you may feel a bit desperate or overwhelmed at times. Sometimes it might help you help a friend. And thinking about the pressures on characters will definitely help you illuminate more complexity, help you think about why characters in your novels might feel or act the way they do. All of this works helps you see forces in books and in your lives that are hard to see, but that affect people in dramatic ways. As you read today, add this thinking to your reading work. It'll be fascinating to see what new insights you have about the various forces of power and your characters. Okay, readers, off you go.